oh, okay, now that Nick Saban's all the way, now Kirby's the GOAT, right? So Kirby becomes the GOAT. Well, I don't know. If you go over there and you lose the first time you meet the new guy,
Yeah.
and then look, in a few weeks, you got to go to Texas. In a couple of weeks after that, you got to go to Ole Miss. So, as you're well aware there in Gainesville, you got to hang on to that rope. And if that, once you lose grip on that rope, it can be trouble. So from that standpoint, I think it's a huge game, particularly for Georgia. I think the pressure is on the Dogs this weekend.
Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at the Dooley Dome. We are battening the hatches and putting all the lawn furniture away. So the storm, I think it took a little bit of an east turn too, so I'm a little bit worried. Helene, so we'll see what happens there. But everybody be safe, be careful. I mean, I'm sure you hear that a lot, but we certainly want to keep all of our great friends and listeners, but also just everybody safe. So be safe. Don't do anything. If they tell you to evacuate, evacuate. If they tell you don't drive your car through water, don't drive your car through water. That's all. I'll leave it at that. All right. Today's show. Now, I promised you Tom Luganville last week, but because of the hurricane, his schedule got all messed up because he's going to FSU this week, the FSU game in Dallas. So so Luke's pushed back to next week. So I had to make a quick call yesterday, and I went, why didn't I call Chip Towers in the first place? Chip Towers would be perfect for today because the big game is Georgia, Alabama. He's a good friend, blah, blah, blah. So I went to the bullpen, and Chip Towers will be joining us today, and that'll be a lot of fun. All right, we will also have Coach Spurrier, of course, on Monday. So that'll be good as well. And we'll talk about the mighty UCF Knights. All right, let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club. Starting five, and is brought to you, as always, by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Patrick Young is speaking there Tuesday night. And I'm sure it'll be an uplifting speech. Patrick is such a good friend, and I can't wait to see him again. I just saw him about a month and a half ago. Probably buy a few more books too, so I can give them out to you guys, get them to sign them, and then you can give them to you. I think I have one left. So, which means, I wanted to tell you, Leonardo's draw will be Monday. I've decided on that. Monday is going to be the Leonardo's draw. So get your Leonardo's in, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's get to the Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. And number one is, okay, it's an off week. What are they going to do in this off week? Well, they're practicing. They're practicing actually today. They'll go indoors. And even though the university is closed, they got permission to go ahead and practice. And we're really going to get the impact tonight, I think, more than anything. And then, but the question is, are they truly going to look at themselves, as Billy Napier said, look in the mirror? He said this on either Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. Are we going to look in the mirror? We need to look in the mirror and find out what we're not doing well and what we can do to fix the defense and and look, that's all anybody wants you to do, and you need to do it. And if you don't do it, you're going to be in trouble. Look, we talked about this all week on the tailgate, Jeff and I. And I talk about this a lot too, how if all the people that want him fired all think they have an answer for the next coach, and nobody knows what the next coach could bring. Nobody even knows who it would be. You may think you may have a guy you want. That doesn't mean he'll come. And there's also the fact that you're starting all over again. And so I just want to caution people, let this play out a little longer, okay? Look, if they're headed to 2-10, I'm with you. I mean, you can't have a coach who goes 2-10 after two other losing seasons. No, you can't. That's not a sign of progress. But here's, again, and I said this before the season, we're going to find out this year if Billy Napier is a good enough coach to be at Florida. And I don't mean it in a negative way towards him. I mean, he's good guy. You know, he seems to be working really hard, and I know he's doing everything he can to get it straight. But is he good enough to be at this elite level? I thought this was going to be the year we were going to find out. So far, the answer would be no. But no, you don't make a decision that quickly. Now he's got this open week, a rare early open week, and he's got an opportunity to do something about what is not going well. I don't have the answers. I mean, I know what I would personally do, but what good does that do me? I don't see them practice. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in with the players. I wouldn't play Des Watson as much as he does. I would play some of those younger guys, play Childs and some of those other guys a little bit more. You've got to figure out a way to get a pass rush, or this season is going nowhere, and it's already headed nowhere. It's kind of veered off the tracks, and now it's not one wheel is on the tracks, but not both of them, because that was a win over an inferior opponent. We all know that. Anyway, we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. They're gonna face a pretty good team. We'll see what they do, and we'll see that next Saturday, 7:45 p.m. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is, I did want to mention this. Graham Mertz was honored by the Manning people for his performance for I think it was Performer of the Week or something like that. But anyway, I started thinking, how would my grades look if and I think I'm going to do those I do the grading the Gators for WRUF.com. And I think I'm going to do the season grades by position. And I was thinking about it, and I go, it's funny. I think I would give the quarterback room, the running back room, and the tight end room all A's of some kind, maybe A minus, because I think they've all done good. Tight end's been fine. Now, again, I'm not watching film. I don't know if they're blocking well, so that may be a problem. But so they've done really good, but you can't give an A to the team at 2-2, and you certainly can't give an A to any group on defense. I will say this: I think the secondary's played okay. I think Jason Marshall's playing pretty good, but you can't just let a quarterback sit back there and throw. You got to get pressured somehow. I don't care if you got a blitz 8. Blitz 8, leave 3 back there, and if you get touchdowns against you, so what? It's rather to get a quick strike than bleed all day and never get the ball back. All right, so anyway, those 3 rooms are great. I think the running back room is tremendous. I can't believe I'm even saying that after ETN left. And of course, he went for 166 the other day. But Trayon Webb runs hard. I love Jordan Baugh. Jacoby Jackson was a surprise at how good he has been. Of course, that touchdown run he had against Mississippi State was against Mississippi State, but still, I mean, he was a tackle-breaking run. That's what you're supposed to do when you play a game like that. So I think those rooms are fine. They just got to get the other ones up to speed. All right, number 3 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. So you are going to watch UCF Colorado. You would watch it probably anyway because you may negative root against Buffaloes, or you may be positive root for the Buffaloes. But you're going to watch it because that's Florida's next opponent. And I think a lot of you are going to watch it because you want to see what they do to run the ball the way they have. 375 yards a game. Bring what, Scooby? I mean, that's a lot. Again, it's early. But the good news is that Florida got its 9th straight sellout. And look, I think it's doing some great stuff, man. But the fans are showing up. Now, I know that there are a lot of UCF fans that bought tickets on StubHub and everything, and they'll be around there. But the fans, they're selling out all these games. I think this will be their 13th sellout under Napier for teams that have not won enough games to, be over 500. So that's what I was trying to say. But so anyway, it's interesting that they keep coming. The fans keep coming. I still think this is a little bit of a reflection from COVID, because I think COVID was the great wake-up call for college football fans all over the country, Florida especially, where it's like, man, 7 times a year, and in good years, which is this year, and sometimes it's only 6, sometimes it's 5, but 7 times a year, I get to go see the Gators play, and I get to go see my friends and tailgate with them and drink car bombs with them and whatever you're doing, have chicken and all that stuff. And you know what tailgates are, and you know what it's like to be in the game, and you know the FOMO. You don't want the fear of missing out. You want to be at the games, and that's shown up. And I think that's still, and I don't think that's going to go away. I think it was a wake up call for fans, and they are woken up. Okay, they're not woke. They're woken. They're awake. All right. Anyway, let's move on to number 4 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. I don't know how many of you have watched the Aaron Hernandez, what do you call it? A movie? It's not a documentary because there's a lot of fact there is all through it. But we watched the first and the second one. The second one we watched last night. It's kind of hard to watch at times. I'm amazed at Florida gave them access to some things, and I'm surprised they did. But I think they were practicing at Flavette. It looked like they weren't practicing on Florida's practice field. It is the opposite of Swamp Kings. It makes Florida look like a runaway train that a bunch of punks and thugs and bad people. Now, I will say this: for all the years I've been at the University of Florida, covering the Gators at different times and going to the University of Florida, I've seen players get free drinks. Yeah, of course, that was the kind of the theme last night. All the players never had to pay for anything, and then the guy tried to make Aaron Hernandez pay. And this happened at the Swamp, as we know, and he punched him, and they never pressed charges. Anyway, Huntley Johnson got him. And Huntley Johnson's a big part of this movie as well. The one thing I did want to say, because look, I'm not recommending it. It is really well done, but it's not representative of a lot of things. Like, for example, Cornelius Ingram blows his knee out during the 2007 practices. No, that was 2008. That wasn't 2007. It was 2008. Other things that, factual things like they had the wrong team winning some games and stuff like that. But it's not a documentary. It is a movie, and they have this big giant disclaimer at the end about, hey, we're making a lot of this stuff up. That's basically what they're saying. But the one thing that was interesting is the Urban Meyer character. I don't know who it's played by, but he looks a little like Urban. He doesn't look a lot like Urban, but he sounds and he acts just like Urban. And if you didn't know better and you shut your eyes, you go, oh, is Urban in this movie? So I'm sure the Urban Meyer and Shelley Meyer are not thrilled with this either. And that's the thing. That's why these guys wanted to kind of present Swamp Kings as a success story, and they were able to get that done. But we all know that there were both sides to it. And I'll give you a perfect example. At one point, my wife last night said, man, I wish Urban was still here. And like 20 minutes later, she goes, man, Urban was a jerk. I'm like, you're getting it. Yes, I wish he was still here. Yes, he could be a jerk to people, especially his players. But yeah, I wish he was still here. There were some interesting things, and there was a lot of stuff in there. I mean, I knew pretty much everything, but I'm glad that they did broach it, because I think that that's what Swamp Kings did leave out, was Aaron Hernandez, Tony Joyner. And of course, again, facts. Don't let facts get in the way, because it's not a real story. Anyway, let's get to number 5, which is a lot better story on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. And that is that I want to let everybody know that they're having a special kind of celebration of what Mouse Holloway has been able to do at Florida, 15 national championships. That is Saturday night. You can get tickets. I think you go to Evite or somewhere like that. But I'm sure if you just Google it in, you could find it. His fraternity is throwing the party. and they're gonna have a jazz band. They're gonna have people come up and talk, open mic and stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, he's the best coach at the University of Florida. I mean, that's all you can say. Nobody's done what he's done. It's pretty amazing. And Mouse Holloway being honored. And I know that Mouse didn't want to do it, and they had to drag him in there because he doesn't like to get a lot of attention. I told this story in the radio yesterday about going to interview him, and I was in the Lemeron. I'm like, where is his office? And I go by Tim Holton's office. I go by Mary Wise's office. No, I got to go by secretaries' offices. I go by trainers' offices. Finally, in the back right corner, there's Mouse Holloway's office, this little tiny office. I go, could you get a little bit more inconspicuous? And he goes, this is where I want to be. I don't want anybody walking in here, except you. You're good. Anyway, all right, that's going to do it for our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. Don't forget, Patrick Young is speaking Tuesday night. You need to get there, and you can call them and if you want to come and become a member, or I'm sure they can work out something for you. They do a great job, though. The speakers are unbelievable. So we'll look forward to that. We'll be back with Chip Towers from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, talk about that Georgia-Alabama matchup, and then we'll get to all of our other fun stuff later in the show. You are listening or watching. I started to say listening or watching too. No, you are either listening to or watching. Man, having a hard time today. I think it's the humidity from the hurricane. Another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant. And you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
All right, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios here at the Ponderosa. We're buckled down, ready for Helene, and a guy who's going to go right into it like a storm chaser joins us as our guest today, the great Chip Towers from the AJC. We love his stuff. He does a great job covering Georgia. And yeah, you're about to drive kind of. I guess you can drive kind of around it, right?
We don't know as we sit here right now. I mean, I expect to have to deal with weather as I drive from. I live in Bogart, Georgia, just outside of Athens, so I'll have to drive through Atlanta west, and I'm actually stopping in Birmingham and staying there Friday night. Yeah, and based on, the models, we've all been watching the tracking models. I'll probably be going through some stuff between here and there, but the latest I've seen, it looks like that, it's not going to be a factor on the game. So I just need to get west and out of it, and we'll be fine. But hey, I mean, I'm worried about you and yours down there in that area, it looks pretty intense. But I know you're a lifetime Florida resident. I'm sure you just kind of shrug your shoulders with all this stuff. It's just this is the one this year, right?
Yeah, I got an email yesterday from Chris and Robbie, and they wanted to know what time we're drinking today. So
yeah,
that's they're all ready for a hurricane party. Well,
my wife asked me last night. We were getting ready for dinner, and I decided to go ahead and have a scotch at that time. And she says, "Wait, you're having a scotch already?" I said, "Yeah, there's a hurricane coming. Hadn't you heard?"
Hey, I learned that from the best. My dad and mom, man, they would have these great hurricane parties. They were always coming into St. Augustine, so we had to put that there. Yeah, but we'll see how it won't have any impact on the game. But let's talk about Georgia, Alabama, and of course the latest game of the century. We have about 3 of them a year.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's obviously a big deal. But I mean, it's so different because Saban's there. It's different. But I don't think, and I know you wrote about this, I don't think it matters that Saban's not there in terms of strategy and the ability of the coach, because the coach is pretty strong. Yeah,
let me tell you, Kalen DeBoer, and I mean, I knew this, obviously it's been since January he was hired. I met him and did a little something on him down at spring meetings in Destin. And then, of course, this summer. But it's really been until this week that I really got down in the weeds, looking at Kalen DeBoer and everything else. I reached out and talked to some West Coasters who've known about him a while. And I mean, just, that record, I think it's 111 and 12 or something like that. Yeah. I mean, he's lost 12 games in his lifetime as a head coach. And I don't care if that's NAIA, which part of it was at Sioux Falls, or Fresno State or Washington. That's good work, right? Yeah. And so he's a good coach in and of itself. And the story that I wrote about that's on AJC.com was that it's not as much about Saban as much as this weekend will be made about Saban. I mean, the over and under on how many times Saban's face will be on the screen this weekend, either talking about this game or talking about his career, whatever, is 100. I mean, I don't know what it'll be, but that'll be a big part of it. And be clear, when it comes to Georgia, Nick Saban standing on that Alabama sideline, is like a voodoo curse. I mean, this guy it's incredible. I mean, it's the only guy who's dominated Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's 1-5 against him. The only other SEC team that has a winning record against him is LSU 1-2. So everybody else, I mean, just wrap your head around it. It's like Georgia's 49-2 in their last 51 games, 42 regular season games in a row. So Georgia just doesn't lose. But when Nick Saban is on the other sideline, all kinds of wild stuff has happened in this series. So psychologically, that's the biggest deal. But to me, it is really about Kirby Smart and Kalen DeBoer and the future. Because the narrative was that when Nick Saban finally retired, everybody certainly in Georgia, but kind of in college football said, "Oh, okay, now that Nick Saban's out of the way, now Kirby's the GOAT, right?" So Kirby becomes the GOAT. Well, I don't know. If you go over there and you lose the first time you meet the new guy, and then look, in a few weeks you got to go to Texas, and a couple of weeks after that you got to go to Ole Miss. So as you're well aware there in Gainesville, you got to hang on to that rope. And if that, once you lose grip on that rope, it can be trouble. So from that standpoint, I think it's a huge game, particularly for Georgia. I think the pressure is on the Dogs this weekend.
Yeah, I don't disagree. By the way, we did not coordinate that we were both going to wear Masters hats.
How about that? Yeah,
I was wearing mine because you were coming on, and I know that it's near and dear to your heart.
Oh, yeah. But, favorite event of all time.
Yeah.
But you and I are known for our fashion statements.
Right.
And here we are establishing it again. So you young kids, get out there and get you a Masters hat.
That's right. Exactly. I got a couple of them, but
it was uncoordinated. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Georgia for me came into this season as a little bit of an X factor because, as you mentioned, the schedule. For once, Georgia's got a brutal schedule.
It is.
Fans have always been complaining, oh, they never have to play. They have to go to Texas A&M. They still haven't gone. But this schedule is brutal. Well, they got to go to Tennessee's at home, but that's after they have to go to Ole Miss.
That's at the end of this gauntlet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've called it the gauntlet all year. It's you got 8 games in 10 weeks, all SEC, and 6 of them, 5 of them are against top 10 teams. I mean, it's crazy how it worked out, and that's not even taking into account Kentucky. Now, Kentucky's a weird animal. It is every year, but it's one of those weird flukes. Georgia, it's like pulling fingernails off every year they go to Lexington. I don't know what it is about that. And this was another occasion, but nobody was even talking about that at the beginning of this gauntlet. The end of the gauntlet is Tennessee. And in between, by the way, is Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss, all in the top 5. So it's crazy the way it's worked out.
Yeah, it is. But I still, the other thing is I don't know about this team. Sometimes teams just keep going. They just keep rolling. And no matter what they lose, everybody looks at it and says, hey, they lost a lot. I'm not going to pick them high. But that didn't happen with Georgia. They lost a lot, and everybody goes, Kirby's still going to have a great team. And he probably is. But 13-12, that resonates with you. And the Clemson game was close until they kind of blew it out at the end. So I still don't know what to think of this Georgia team.
Well, welcome to the club, because I mean, I'm the proverbial beat guy or whatever, and I'm not sure. And I'm really interested in seeing how this game turns out. I'm shocked that I don't know what it'll end up being, but as we sit here today, Georgia was still a 2-point favorite.
They are right now.
And you have to go back a long, long, long time to find Alabama, as a home dog. I mean, that's just
maybe first year was the last time.
It's unheard of. So that surprises me. That said, I mean, obviously Georgia has done what it's done. It's not smoke and mirrors. They have great players. Carson Beck is supposed to be, very, very good. He did not play well at Kentucky for whatever reason. That offensive line in particular played terrible, and then they lost. The weird thing about this one, kind of in the Georgia-Alabama rivalry, the joke is the one game that Alabama lost was in the national championship game in 2021 to Georgia, and the Alabama people were all pointing to the injuries that they had. Oh, we didn't. So and so wasn't here, and so wasn't here, and in Georgia, as always, it's like we don't have players that aren't in the game. That is definitely the case this year. Alabama, insofar as I can tell, does not have anybody out. Georgia, is you're questionable on Michael Williams, who's their best defensive lineman. You're definitely out of Roderick Robinson. You're definitely out on some other defensive linemen.
Tate Ratledge is out. Yeah.
Tate Ratledge was lost in the Kentucky game. So there's a bunch of starters out for this game. But all that said, Georgia, when I looked at this game in the preseason and, coming into the year and everything, I felt like Georgia had the better roster. And to some extent, I still feel like that. Listen, we talk about all the flaws. Here's the crazy thing when you think about it. And Kalen DeBoer pointed this out, I guess it was yesterday on the SEC teleconference call. He was talking about special teams. They've made every field goal. They have not had a punt return, not just this year, in the last 2 years. Nobody has been able to even return a punt against them. They have not given up a touchdown, right? In 3 games, they haven't allowed a touchdown. So it's kind of like it's like everybody's talking about what's wrong with Georgia, yet there's still some. So when they were saying, "What do you need to do to defeat Georgia, Coach?" to DeBoer, he goes, "We got to score a touchdown." Nobody scored a touchdown against him, and then he started to lay out all those other things about him. It's kind of like, it's not very pretty, but they do all the stuff that it takes to win. So, but I go in here with not a good feeling at all about Georgia. I think they're beat up. I think, playing on the road at Tuscaloosa, It always, in this series in particular, it's Alabama's offense and Georgia's defense. That appears to be the case again this year. And, I like Alabama's offense run by Jalen Milroe, who, the typical dual threat RPO guy with some really good receivers. And but as we sit here, Georgia's a favorite. So who knows?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned it being at Alabama, where the Tusks are looser. Groucho Marx.
I haven't heard that in a long time. That's good. Yeah,
but
use it.
I used to say, and again, I haven't been to stadiums. I've been to Florida Stadium, but I haven't been out in the SEC anymore for the last 3 or 4 years because I retired. But I used to tell people the toughest place to play is Alabama. That place is loud. They are into it. Everybody thinks that they would, be calm and relaxed because they always win, but they are into it. And I've found it to be the loudest place and the hardest place to play.
The crazy thing about it, you mentioned that their home record is an 841 winning percentage all time since 1929, right? It's like all programs for the most part, Georgia, Florida might be in it right now, has that down period, Georgia's 1950s period was awful. They just lost to everybody. And it was funny. That was the only time the 1950s into the early 1960s, Georgia played Alabama every year. Then Vince Dooley is hired as the head coach, and he was a very wise man, as you know, Pat, your uncle Vince Dooley.
Vince,
but he dropped Alabama from the schedule. Yeah, we got to get that off the schedule. And they did, and things went better. So they haven't played all that much. The weird thing about this, Pat, this is my first time covering a Georgia-Alabama game in Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's been a fluke because, like, the 2020 was a COVID game, and I didn't go. 2002 and 2007, I wasn't on the beat at that particular time in my incarnation, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So I have been to Bryant-Denny Stadium. I did have a brief stint at the AJC as the SEC writer. And, so I saw I didn't see Alabama-Auburn because, Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, he would always get the choice assignments and I would get the number 2. So I think I've seen Alabama-Arkansas when Arkansas was pretty good and a couple other games like that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to, seeing Georgia and Alabama on a home campus because we haven't seen enough of it 10 times. I mean, this is only the 11th time Georgia has visited Tuscaloosa. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Chip Towers from the AJC coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. It is time to play Yes, No Way, or Maybe with him. Of course, it's brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. Go in there and say, hey, I listened to the podcast, and you get free fries with the order. In fact, I think I'm going to head in there when we get done. So before the hurricane comes, I'll get about 3 of those and have them ready to go. All right. So yes, no way, or maybe, Chip. Number 1, we will see a rematch of Georgia and somebody in the SEC championship game. And the reason I ask that is because, they got to go to Tennessee, they got to go to Ole Miss, they got to play Alabama. If they get through it with only 1 loss, they'll be in it, and one of those teams will probably be in it. Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to say maybe. I'm going to couch that one because, my preseason prediction was that was going to be the case. Now, I'm like you alluded to it in the beginning. I wouldn't, you never know. We're still in that stage of, right, you really don't know, right? You really don't know how good Alabama is, how good Georgia is, how good Clemson is. That's a big thing for me. Georgia led that game 6-0 at the half. They end up winning it 34-3, I think it was. And but Clemson, has looked pretty good, at least certainly in that NC State game. App State typically is a pretty good team, and they just steamrolled both of them. So, I'm still seeking perspective, and this game will provide that. But based on what I said in the preseason, I expect Georgia to be in that SEC championship game. Now, whether that's against Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, whoever, it'd be great. Well, Ole Miss finally makes a the SEC championship game. Who knows? But I'm going to stick with that right now because my preseason predictions and all that were based on personnel and certainly pedigree. What Kirby Smart's proven it. So I'll go with maybe there.
Okay. Number 2 on yes, no way, or maybe. Chip Towers, you can explain why Georgia has become a golf power. Because I can't explain it.
A golf power.
You look on the tour, and every foursome's got 3 guys from Georgia in it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it is. It's funny you should say that because nowadays us in the newspaper business, we don't cover college golf as much as we did. But as it turned out, yesterday I was in Georgia's golf facility, and I'll tell you why. This is funny. You're a golfer, I'm a golfer, and I have a 56-degree Vokey wedge that I've carried around forever. That thing was worn out, in the sweet spot, and I left it out at the Georgia club. And somebody, it didn't turn it back in or anything else. I just happened to text Hack, because you know this about golf coaches. There is no greater scholarship in all of collegiate athletics than a golf scholarship. And I asked him, I said, you guys wouldn't happen to have a 56-degree Vokey laying around anywhere? Well, of course they do,
Yeah, exactly.
So I went over there to pick it up. But and they can't take any money for them. I mean, because the NIL, because the NCAA rules, there is still an NCAA, and their rules matter a little bit. But anyway, I was like, can I pay? Because one of the players gave it to me. George Langham, I think his name was, because he didn't use it anymore. And I was like, golly, geez, thanks. It's just like my other one, like, hey, thank you so much. But anyway, when you're over there, all right, you see it. All those players that are in it. And we were talking about it. I mean, you got Brian Harmon and Russell Henley are in the President's Cup right now. Those would be the bottom of the food chain when you think of Georgia golfers right now. They're everywhere. And it's because of Chris Hack. Chris Hack, what a name for a golf coach, right? H-A-A-C-K. But he's just an unbelievable dude, a great recruiter. He was a longtime junior guy, and he just knows he knows that network of where the next up and coming players are coming, and recruits them and brings them to Georgia. And they're a little bit down at the moment, compared to where they've been in recent years. But they're still producing PGA guys, and they're all over there, watching Brian Harmon and Russell Henley this week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to number 3, and that is for Chip Towers on yes, no, where, or maybe. Mike White needs to have a good year. I'm not saying he's on the hot seat, but he's 12-24 in the SEC so far, and at Georgia, he needs to have a good year.
I got to admit, I want him to have a good year. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, experience this down in Florida. He's such a good guy. I mean, he is really a good guy. And I honestly think he's a good basketball coach. But, nowadays, it's all about getting the players, man. You've got to get the players. And it looks like Georgia has, right? So they've done really well in the transfer portal this year, I believe. And they signed a 5-star guy out of Destin, of all places. But he was actually born in Athens, guy by the name of Asa Newell. They returned all 3 of their freshman starters from last year. That's the biggest deal nowadays, right? They didn't go to the portal. And, the portal is been, the Death Star for Georgia basketball, right? So, I mean, he's not in any hot seat situation. It appears just because of the kind of guy he is organizationally and what they're doing, he's going to be given a lot of rope to get this going in the right direction. But listen to this, Pat. I mean, they have put over $20 million into the Stegman Coliseum the last couple of years. The place really looks good right now. I mean, it's amazing how good it is. You can say, earrings on a pig or whatever you want to say. That thing's been there since 1964. But it looks really good right now. And they put an all new floor, new painting on the floor. It looks amazing. Now you got to go win in an SEC that you're adding Texas and Oklahoma to. So when you're trying to climb the ladder in the SEC, it's one thing to be where you are in the SEC basketball in particular, but to climb that ladder, man, it's hard. It's really, really hard. And so I think they'll get a rung or 2 up. and based on what they did last year, which was to reach the Final Four of the NIT, I would say that would be an NCAA bid. But they got to start making NCAA tournaments regularly now.
Yeah, and he did that here, and they still wanted him to leave. So that is still the weirdest thing I've ever experienced.
That one's a hard. No matter who I've talked to a lot of people about it. It's hard to really get your arms around that whole situation. Other than, listen, I mean, Billy Donovan just was an unbelievable coach and did unbelievable things, and he was unable to replicate that. There's a myriad of reasons when you start looking at it close, kind of injuries and illnesses and things like that happened. But he just didn't get as much out of those teams as Billy Donovan did. And, if he can get anything, if he can get Georgia to a tournament, they'll throw parades up here.
The statue will go up the next day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Chip, always great talking to you, buddy. And hopefully see you soon. And I appreciate you coming on. Very nice of you to do that because, like I told you earlier, Lou's had to cancel because of the hurricane. So it was great having you. And I should have had you on the first place because I wanted to talk to somebody about Georgia, Alabama.
Well, I've always been the backup coming off the bench, and I'm very comfortable in that role. But hey, listen, man, you guys batten down the hatches there. Have a cold one, have a good time, and hope you stay safe. And I'm here for you anytime, Pat.
All right, my man. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Thanks so much to Joe Calorio over there at Titan, and of course, all the Meldons over at Meldon Law. We appreciate them. And of course, Meldon Law also sponsors Coach Spurrier. He'll be back on Monday. Right now, though, it is time to do the fun stuff, and we do that every Monday and Thursday. We start off with the Hester and Kipke three things. Hester and Kipke, of course, a Gainesville firm here for your needs in family law or workers' compensation. Call or text Ken and Jennifer 24/7 at 352-339-9920. Hester and Kipke, nearly 50 years of combined legal experience and about to celebrate their 5th anniversary in January. We appreciate our friends at Hester and Kipke. No doubt about it. They have done a great job for us, and we appreciate them. Okay. I was trying to get back on the thing, but I'll figure that out in a minute. All right. Hester and Kipke, three things. Number one, I want to honor all the teams that have qualified for the playoffs. Yankees, Orioles, Cleveland, Houston, the Phillies. I know you did it. Ken is a big Phillies guy. Milwaukee, the Dodgers, and the Padres. And now we are sitting here. There are two wild cards left in each division and 3 teams fighting for them. And of course, what happened with the Braves Mets was not ideal because we had our pitching lined up, won the first game 5-1. Here comes our Cy Young winner, Chris Sale, and then Fried the next game. But the Hurricane postpones both those games. If necessary, they'll play a doubleheader. Now, I don't even know the rule on this, but if somehow the Mets had a 3-game lead, I guess, on the Braves, they wouldn't have to play those 2 games because they would be meaningless. I know the Braves had the tiebreaker over the Diamondbacks, and I think they have it over the Mets. So, but anyway, it could be excruciating Monday if they play a doubleheader on Monday to get into the playoffs. That'd be too much for me. I don't know if my little heart will be able to take it. But congratulations to everybody who made it, especially to Ken for the Phillies getting in there. Of course, they won the division. I mean, the Braves dominated that division. So, all right, let's get to number 2 on our Hester and Kipke 3 things, and that is the President Cup is this weekend. I will tell you, it is on the Golf Channel on Thursday. I'm going to go ahead and give you this. Golf Channel on Thursday, Friday, and NBC on Saturday and Sunday. Do you care? I don't care, and you know how much I love golf. Will it be on the third TV? It would have to be. It's going to be hard. There are a lot of good games this weekend, and I love golf. But the President's Cup, I mean, it's only the 15th one, and we've won 12 and tied one of them. So it's kind of hard to get real excited about it. Like Ryder Cup, I get excited about. That is on a TV. President's Cup, and if Horschel was on it, I would feel different. But there's no Gators on there, so I don't know if I'm excited or not. I would think I'm going to be excited today because there's really nothing going on today during the day, and it starts I think at 11:45. You know, you guys by the time you watch this, it's already started. But anyway, I don't know if we really have a lot of care. I think it's a golf thing more than it is a sports thing. You know what I mean? You know, when I talk about niche sports, and golf certainly is a niche sport, but it's not, you know, when it's not a niche sport, the Masters, it's not a niche sport then. It's not a niche sport when Tiger's in contention, but President's Cup, niche sport. Yeah. And finally, on our Hester and Kipke 3 things, no more Caitlin Clark to worry about this year. Their team lost last night. I watched about 5 minutes of the game. They really didn't have much of a chance. And you know what? In a way, it's kind of good. I know that they are not happy at ESPN because they wanted her around forever. But I think she needs some time off. She needs some time off, and I think we need some time off from her. I'm a big fan of hers. I love the way she plays, but we all need some time away from each other. She needs to go to a Caribbean island with her boyfriend and just hang out there. So anyway, that is our Hester and Kipke 3 things. I'm going to go and give you our swamp games of the weekend since I just told you about the President's Cup. Volleyball, by the way, plays tonight. Now, again, if you're listening this Friday, it's too late. But they play tonight against Oklahoma on the road at a game at 7. It's only on the Plus. It'll be on my TV. I can tell you that. I can't wait to watch Alyssa Stuckey and Kennedy Martin playing together in a big match again. Also tonight, of course, the NFL game, Dallas at the Giants. That may not be on my TV. To be honest with you, it's on Prime Video at 8:15, which means the big TV's got to be left on it, and I don't want to do that. So I may not have it on. Sunday, the best game, I think, is Philadelphia at Tampa Bay on Fox. That's a 1:00 game. You also have a doubleheader Monday night, so that'll be a lot of fun. I think the Dolphins play Monday night. I don't know if that's going to be fun, the way that's going right now without Tua. And then, of course, our college football Saturday. All right, for our state teams, Colorado is playing UCF, and we all know about the bounce house and everything. That's a big – I talked to Bianchi about it. It's a big deal down there. And UCF's like a 14-point favorite, I think. That is 3:30 on Fox. And then FSU's playing at SMU, 8:00 on the ACC network. So I get that, so I'll be able to watch that. So those are two really now Now SMU's better than FSU. They are playing better. It doesn't mean they have more talent, but they're playing better than FSU. That could be another loss for them. So I'll have that on. Of course, the SEC game is huge. Georgia at Alabama is 7:30 on ABC and ESPN, and then the national game, Louisville, to me, is Louisville at Notre Dame, 3:30 on Peacock. You got to have a lot of things to figure out where you got to watch things. But the best place to go is the Swamp, and then you can watch all those things on different TVs all over the place, and we love it over there at the Swamp. And get some nice libations and nice food. Food is great. I think one of the best hamburgers in town. All right, let us get to our Hugh, Cain, Allstate Mayhem moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
Okay, well, this is it. Triple play. Now, this is the first time I'm seeing this play, to be honest with you, because I heard about it, but I didn't. But this is the triple play that clinches the playoffs for the Padres. Can you imagine that? I think they said it was only the third time it's ever happened. But usually when a guy hits a ball and the guy is that far out in front, you're thinking just go to third base and get one out. You're not thinking, let's go get a triple play. Maybe those guys that were running were slow. Maybe they had too much cash in their pockets, so they couldn't get around the bases. But that was our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment. So that was a good one. All right. Let us get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Your last chance to get in. Monday, we pull, and we will send you $25 from Leonardo's. We're also going to throw in $25 from No Paul. I talked about that situation going on. Jesus, my friend over there, is having some problems, and he's had some health problems, and we're gonna help him out. So he gave us a bunch of gift certificates. We're going to send you that as well. So you're going to be in like Flint. And we'll send you I think I have some. Yeah, we'll send you a Bob Dooley hat too. How about that? Those are nice hats this year. Nice hats every year. So here are the two games. You got to get them both right. If you get one of them wrong, you can't qualify. Georgia -2 at Alabama, and then Colorado at UCF. UCF giving 14. Now that's a tough call because Colorado, we know what happened last week or 2 weeks ago when they beat Nebraska in overtime. But Colorado it stays with teams for the most part. Now they still don't have a full team, of guys that are all bought in. They're bought, but they're not bought in. So we'll see how that goes. But that'll be interesting to see what happens in that game. And again, with UCF playing Florida the next week, it's must-see TV. So Georgia, and this is the last spread I got, -2 at Alabama. First time they've been home underdog since 2007. Colorado at UCF in the bounce house, UCF giving 14. Those are your two games. Just send it to patrickdooley54@gmail.com and we'll register you. We got a lot of people that are in already registered and qualified. So we'll make a poll on Monday. I look forward to it. All right, let's get to our Adams Rib Gator of the weekend. I think some Adams Rib is in order tonight. Go get it now. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Let's go get it now. I think lunch. Maybe dinner. Maybe lunch and dinner. Adams Rib Co. You know it well. One of the great places to go eat. And our Gator of the week is Emily D'Oliviera. I got to the end of it. I couldn't figure out I don't know how to pronounce her name. Okay. Olivia D. It could be Oliviera or Oliviera. Emily. So Emily, for those of you who do know a lot about tennis, obviously got hurt last February, I think it was, or in February, and hurt her ankle really bad and missed the rest of the year. Came back and finally was able to play in a match yesterday and actually played against the number 10 player in the country and took her to 3 sets. And I think she won a tiebreaker in the second because I was kind of following things. And just having her back, I know it means a lot to Roland Thornquist. I know it means a lot to her. And that's good enough for me to make her our Adams Ribco Gator of the week. All right. The last thing we have is this, that, and the other. And this, that, and the other is brought to you by Ballyhoo, where I was yesterday for a little snack. I like that gator tail, man. I'm sorry. I just like it. So I had a gator tail before I went and did the radio show. It's always great to go in there and see my friends. And I think we may be heading there today. That is a rumor that we may be going there today for a hurricane party. I'm not sure I want to go out in this, but we'll see. All right. So this, that, and the other is brought to you by our good friends at Dar Shakow Insurance. Just saw John Dar Friday at the golf tournament out there at Hale Plantation. We had a nice talk. One of the great golfers and great guys, John Dar Jr. So appreciate him. And of course, it is also brought to you by Ironwood Golf Course. And we will see what happens out there. We'll just leave it at that. All right. Let us get to this, that, and the other. This is NIL. When it started, we all were going Wild West. Portal and NIL, Wild West. But NIL, this is going to get crazy. And then all the craziness started. It just became ridiculous. And then the Jaden Rashada thing happened. And then Rashada sued, Rashada sued Napier, and Napier sued him back and all that. That is that this kid, Matthew Sluka, who played at Holy Cross, transferred to UNLV, says he was promised $100,000, said they didn't deliver. They only gave him $3,000. What am I going to do with $3,000? And they're 3-0. So you know what he did? He quit. You guys probably know the story because it's all over the place. He just said, I'm out. I can redshirt now. So I'm out. I'm done. And so the other becomes the mess that we have. And the mess that we have is not only is this guy, now UNLV is saying we gave him what he was promised. He wasn't promised $100,000, but this is his agent at the urging of the parents saying he's worth more now, so he should get more. And it turns out the agent also is not registered in Nevada, which he has to be. It's just a giant mess. I'm tired of reading about it already, and it's only the second day. But we're going to see more of this, man. We're going to see more of these promises not kept, promises made by people who shouldn't be making them in some cases. I'm not saying they never are, but for example, I still don't think you can make a promise to a kid of how much money you're going to be able to give him. I don't think you can do that. You have to wait. I don't know. I don't know how the rules work, and the lack of transparency is a big problem. But hey, you've heard that story before. Here's a story you haven't heard before. We have a hurricane coming. And you've heard that story before too. All right, just be safe, everybody. I appreciate Zach for doing the show today. We got it out. We tried to get it out early so you can have something to watch before your power goes out. Hopefully it doesn't go out here. If it goes out here, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm telling you, not because I'm worried about air conditioning or computers or anything. Games, man. I got games to watch. I'll watch the President's Cup today for sure. All right. That's going to do it for this show. Thanks to Zach again. And thanks to Chip Towers for coming on Monday. Coach Spurrier and Robbie will be back then. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.